The metallic tang of blood hit me like a freight train before I even saw the body crumple to the wet pavement. Rain hammered the alley in Greenwich Village, turning the world into a blurred watercolor of neon and shadow, but nothing could wash away the image of that knife flashing under the street lamp, sinking deep into the man's chest with a sickening thud. I froze behind the dumpster, heart slamming against my ribs, whispering a silent prayer that the killer's eyes, cold as steel, wouldn't swing my way as he wiped the blade on his coat and vanished into the storm. My name is Alex Rivera, and in that split second, my ordinary life as a 28-year-old freelance journalist chasing stories about overlooked queer voices in the city shattered like glass under a boot. I'd come to this dingy spot off Christopher Street hoping for an anonymous tip on underground drag shows facing gentrification threats. Nothing glamorous, just the kind of human grit that fueled my late-night articles for indie mags. But now, with the victims' gasps echoing in my ears, I was the only witness to a murder that screamed mob ties, the kind of hit that didn't leave loose ends breathing. I bolted the moment the alley fell silent, legs burning as I sprinted through the downpour toward the subway, every shadow twisting into a pursuer. My phone buzzed in my pocket, ignored calls from my editor, a half-written piece on my screen, but survival trumped deadlines. By the time I slammed my apartment door in Brooklyn Heights, soaked and shaking, the reality crashed in. I'd seen too much. The man's face, twisted in betrayal, haunted me. Who was he? A rival in some shadowy syndicate? And why did the killer mutter something about the list before the strike? I collapsed onto my worn couch, the city's hum outside my window mocking my isolation. No family to call. My parents back in rural Ohio had cut ties years ago when I came out, leaving me with nothing but a string of failed hookups and a laptop full of untold stories. Tonight, those stories felt like curses. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, sunlight slicing through my blinds like accusations. I hadn't slept, replaying the scene until my eyes burned. Coffee turned to ash in my mouth as I scrolled news feeds. No reports yet, just the usual grind of city scandals. But deep down, I knew. Silence meant cover-up. I needed to report it anonymously, but fear clawed at my gut. What if they traced me? My hands trembled as I typed an email to the tip line for the NYPD's cold case unit, detailing the alley, the time, the blade's glint. Hit send, then delete the draft like it could erase the memory. By noon, paranoia had me pacing my tiny one-bedroom, the walls closing in with posters of Stonewall heroes staring down in judgment. I grabbed my jacket, leather, scuffed from too many pride marches, and headed out, needing air, needing to feel the pulse of the city that had always been my refuge. Brooklyn's streets buzzed with dog walkers and baristas, oblivious to the nightmare I'd stumbled into. I ducked into a corner cafe on Atlantic Avenue, the kind with mismatched chairs and rainbow flags in the window, ordering a black coffee to steady my nerves. That's when he walked in. Jordan Hale. Even now, thinking back, his entrance felt scripted, like fate tossing a lifeline wrapped in muscle and mystery. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline that could cut glass and hazel eyes that scanned the room like he owned every secret in it. Early 30s, maybe, dressed in a crisp button-down that hugged his frame just enough to hint at the power beneath, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms etched with faint scars. He wasn't a regular. I could tell by the way the barista lit up, flirting shamelessly as she handed over his espresso. But Jordan's smile was polite, distant, the kind that said he was here for fuel, not conversation. Our eyes met when he turned, mine wide with residual terror, his narrowing in that cop's instinct for the broken. He slid into the seat across from me without asking, setting his cup down with deliberate calm. "You look like you've seen a ghost, man. Or worse." His voice was low, gravelly with a faint southern drawl. Atlanta, I'd guess, cutting through the cafe's indie folk playlist like a blade. I swallowed hard, glancing at the door. Just a rough night. You know how it is in this city. Lie. My voice cracked, betraying me. He leaned in, elbows on the table, those eyes pinning me like a suspect. Try again. I'm Detective Jordan Hale, NYPD. And you? You're not the type to bullshit. How did he know? My journalist badge peeked from my bag, maybe, or the way I clutched my mug like a shield. But there was more, something in his gaze, warm despite the steel, that made my pulse stutter for reasons beyond fear. I hesitated, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. The alley, the rain, the blood. His face hardened as I spoke, nodding once when I mentioned the list. When I finished, the cafe felt smaller, the air thicker. You just made yourself a player in something ugly, Alex. he said, reading my name off the badge. That hit. It's tied to the Valentinos, old-school mob-running queer nightlife rackets. The Vic was probably skimming. And witnesses? They don't last long. My stomach dropped. What now? I can't just. You can, and you will. Come with me. It wasn't a request. He stood, tossing cash on the table, and I followed, drawn by the gravity of him, the promise of not facing this alone. We stepped into the crisp October air, leaves crunching underfoot as he led me to an unmarked sedan parked curbside. Brooklyn unfolded around us, brownstones with pride flags fluttering from stoops, the distant rumble of the F train. Like a normal day, but nothing felt normal anymore. Inside the car, the heater blasted warmth against my chills, and Jordan drove with one hand on the wheel, the other drumming a rhythm on his thigh. Why help me? I asked, voice small. You don't know me. He glanced over, a ghost of a smile softening his edges. Because I've been you. Young, scared, carrying secrets that could get you killed. And because. He trailed off, eyes flicking back to the road. Let's just say I don't let good people become collateral. We ended up at a nondescript precinct annex in Dumbo, the kind tucked behind warehouses where the real work happened away from flashbulbs. Jordan badged us in, past uniforms who nodded without questions. His office was a chaos of files and coffee rings, a rainbow pin on his corkboard the only personal touch. Sit, he said, pulling up a chair. As I recounted details again, every glint, every gasp, he sketched notes, his focus intense, almost tender. Hours blurred. He ordered falafel from a truck outside, splitting it with me on a rickety bench overlooking the East River. The sun dipped low, painting the water gold, and for the first time since the alley, I breathed easy. You're good at this, I said, wiping tahini from my lip, making the world feel less like it's ending. Jordan chuckled, low and real. Years of practice. Grew up dodging my own shadows, closeted in the Bible Belt, joined the force to fight back. His eyes met mine, holding longer this time, a spark jumping between us like live wire. What about you, Alex? What's your fight? I told him then. About the disownment, the grind of writing pieces that mattered but paid pennies, the ache for connection in a city that chewed up hearts. He listened, really listened, his hand brushing mine when he passed the napkin. Electric. Dangerous. But in that moment, with the skyline twinkling to life, it felt like salvation's first whisper. Night fell as we wrapped up, Jordan insisting on driving me home. You're under my protection now, he said, pulling up to my building. No arguments. I'll have a unit swing by, but call me if anything feels off. He handed over his card, fingers lingering on mine. And Alex, get some rest. You've got a story worth telling and living. I nodded, stepping out into the cool air, his gaze following me up the stoop. Inside, alone again, I leaned against the door, heart racing not from fear, but from the man who'd just rewritten my nightmare into something almost hopeful. Little did I know, the shadows were closing in faster than dawn could chase them. Part 1 end. Word count, 10:23. The next morning hit like a hangover from hell. Head pounding, sheets twisted around me like restraints. Dreams had been a frenzy of knives and hazel eyes, Jordan's voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. I dragged myself to the kitchen, brewing coffee strong enough to strip paint, when my phone lit up with an unknown number. Hesitation gripped me, but curiosity won. Rivera, I answered, voice rough. Alex, it's Jordan. You alone. His tone was clipped, urgent, no morning pleasantries. Yeah, just me. What's? Get out. Now. Black SUV, 2 blocks east, circling your street since 6. My blood iced over. I peered through the blinds. There it was, tinted windows gleaming like predator eyes under the weak sun. Pack light. Meet me at the pier by the old tobacco warehouse in 10. Don't use your phone after this call. The line died. Panic surged, but his command anchored me. I shoved essentials into a backpack, laptop, charger, a photo of my abuela from better days, and slipped out the fire escape, heart thundering with each creak of the metal. Brooklyn's morning bustle masked my flight. Joggers pounding pavement, vendors hawking bagels, but every face blurred into threat. I wove through side streets, pulse sinking with the distant siren wail, until the river's briny scent hit me. Jordan waited by a rusted chain-link fence, leaning against his sedan like he belonged in a noir film. His trench coat flapped in the wind off the water, revealing the holster at his hip. Relief flooded me as I approached, but his expression, jaw tight, eyes scanning horizons, killed it quick. You made it, he said, pulling me into a quick, fierce hug that smelled of sandalwood and resolve. Good. We're ghosts for a bit. We peeled out, tires biting asphalt as he explained. The tip I'd sent? Flagged and buried by someone inside. The Valentinos had moles, deep ones, and my description matched a hit on Marco Ruiz, their enforcer who'd turned state's evidence, or tried to. That list you heard? Names of snitches. Yours is next if we don't move smart. His hands gripped the wheel white-knuckled, but when he glanced my way, softness crept in. I won't let that happen, Alex. Not on my watch. We ditched the city for the winding roads upstate, toward the Catskills where Jordan had a cabin, off-grid, stocked for worst case. The drive stretched 2 hours of tense silence broken by radio static and stolen glances. He hummed along to a classic Springsteen track, voice low and off-key, and I caught myself smiling despite the dread. Why the cabin? I asked finally, as pines thickened around us. Sanctuary. Bought it after my partner, ex-partner, bailed when the job got too real. Needed space to remember why I fight. His words hung heavy, laced with old pain. Gay and blue? Double the target, he'd implied yesterday. I wanted to ask more, to bridge that gap, but the rear view showed no tails. Safety, for now. The cabin squatted on a hill overlooking mist-shrouded valleys, logs weathered gray, porch sagging but sturdy, a stone fireplace promising warmth. Inside, it was sparse, leather couch, bookshelves groaning with thrillers and queer lit, a kitchen that smelled of pine cleaner. Jordan busied himself with locks and perimeter checks while I unpacked, the normalcy of it all jarring against the horror chasing us. That night, rain lashed the windows again, thunder rumbling like distant gunfire. We cooked pasta with Jared sauce, nothing fancy, and ate by lantern light, the storm turning the world intimate. Tell me something real, Jordan said, twirling noodles on his fork. Not the witness shit. You. I hesitated, then spilled. The first Pride I attended, age 19, drunk on freedom and cheap beer. The article that got me blacklisted from a major outlet for calling out homophobic donors. The nights staring at my ceiling, wondering if love was just a story for other people. He listened, chin propped on his hand, firelight dancing in his eyes. When I finished, he reached across the table, thumb tracing my knuckles. You're braver than you know, Alex. Chasing truths in a world that lies for a living. That's rare. Heat bloomed where our skin touched, spreading like wildfire. I turned my hand, lacing fingers with his, tentative, electric. And you? What's the real Jordan Hale story? He sighed, gaze drifting to the flames. Grew up in a town where fag was the first word I learned to dodge. Came out at 22, lost half my family overnight. Joined NYPD to protect the ones like us, the kids in the village alleys, the elders forgotten in nursing homes. But it costs. Last year, I took a bullet shielding a trans informant. Woke up alone, wondering if it was worth it. His voice cracked, just once, and something in me shattered. I stood, rounding the table, pulling him up into an embrace. His arms wrapped around me, solid and unyielding, heartbeat syncing with mine. The kiss came natural, slow at first, tasting of red wine and unspoken need. Then hungry, hands roaming backs, igniting sparks in the dim glow. We stumbled to the bedroom, shedding clothes like old skins, bodies colliding in a tangle of limbs and gasps. Jordan was gentle power, mapping my scars with lips and whispers, making me feel seen, wanted, alive. In his arms, the fear receded, replaced by a fierce, fragile hope. Dawn found us tangled in sheets, his head on my chest, breath steady. But peace was fleeting. My phone, burner he'd given me, vibrated on the nightstand. Jordan bolted up, answering low. His face drained of color. They hit your apartment. Torched it. Message received. The words landed like blows. We'd bought time, but the hunt was on. As we dressed in silence, his hand found mine again. We're in this together, Alex. All of it. Days blurred into a tense rhythm at the cabin. Mornings of black coffee on the porch watching fog lift from the valleys. Afternoons poring over Jordan's files on the Valentinos. He had dossiers thick as novels. Photos of slick-haired bosses in pinstripes shaking hands with crooked councilmen. Maps of their grip on Manhattan's underground clubs where queer kids danced to forget. Marco Ruiz's file hit hardest. Mid-40s, tattooed knuckles, a husband and adopted son waiting for him back in Queens. He was turning, feeding us crumbs, Jordan said one afternoon, pacing the creaky floorboards. This list? It's their kill order. Your name's not on it yet, but they know you saw. I nodded, stomach twisting, but anger simmered beneath the fear. Anger for Marco, for the lives they crushed like roaches. As a journalist, I'd chronicled the edges of this world, raids on bathhouses, bribes silencing activists. Now, it was personal. We exposed them, I said, voice steady for the first time. My words, your evidence. Make it stick. Jordan stopped, turning with a proud, almost tender smile. That's the fire I saw in you. But we need more, irrefutable proof. Tonight, we drive to a contact in Albany. Ex-Valentino owes me. The road to Albany wound through autumn blaze, oranges and reds like warning flares. We took Jordan's truck, radio tuned to NPR, dissecting the latest queer rights rollback in Congress, a stark reminder of battles beyond bullets. His hand rested on my thigh as he drove, casual but claiming, sending warmth pooling low. Ever think about getting out? I asked, tracing the veins on his wrist. Somewhere quiet, no chases or lists. He squeezed gently. Used to. After the shooting. Pictured a cabin like this, but with someone to share it. You. His eyes flicked to mine, vulnerable under the bravado. Me? Nah. City's in my blood. The marches, the murmurs in bars. But yeah, with the right someone, anywhere sounds good. The words hung, heavy with promise. We arrived at dusk to a nondescript diner off I-87, neon sign buzzing, open 24/7, like a lie. Our contact, Lena, a wiry woman in her 50s with a smoker's rasp and a faded mob tattoo on her collarbone, slid into our booth, eyes darting like minnows. Hail, you dragged me out here for fairy tales, she grumbled, but slid a USB drive across the Formica. Ledgers. Off-books payments to badges. Enough to fry the Don's nuts. Jordan pocketed it, expression granite. Anyone tailing you? She snorted. Always. But this? It's suicide if they link it back. Her gaze softened on me. Kid, you the witness? Run far. These bastards eat hearts for breakfast. We left with the drive burning a hole in Jordan's pocket, but the drive back felt heavier, paranoia prickling my neck, convinced headlights in the mirror were hunters. We made the cabin unscathed, barricading for the night. Over whiskey by the fire, Jordan plugged in the drive, screen glowing with columns of dirty money. Bribes to precincts, hits disguised as overdoses in the village. This is gold, he murmured, arm around my shoulders. But it'll paint targets bigger than yours. I leaned into him, inhaling his scent, sweat, and pine, letting it ground me. Worth it. For Marco. For all of them. Our lips met, slow and deep, whiskey sharp on tongues. What started as comfort escalated, his hands unbuttoning my shirt, mine tugging at his belt, bodies pressing urgent against the rug. Love in hiding tasted desperate, each touch a defiance against the dark outside. He whispered my name like a prayer as we moved together, sweat slick and synchronized, climax crashing like thunder. Afterward, curled against him, I traced the bullet scar on his shoulder. This you? Yeah. Reminder to fight smarter. His fingers combed my hair. And you, Alex? What's your scar? I showed him the faded line on my ribs, from a bar fight my sophomore year, defending a friend from slurs. Badge of survival. We laughed soft, the sound fragile in the quiet. But dawn brought the wolf at the door. A burner buzzed, dispatch, chatter on wires, Valentino's mobilizing. They're sweeping the city for you, Jordan said, face ashen. We head back tonight, go underground in the precinct safe house. No choice. Packing felt final, the cabin's warmth a memory we'd reclaim. On the road south, tension coiled tight. Halfway, Jordan's radio crackled, ambush alert on our route. He floored it, truck roaring through curves, my hand white-knuckled on the dash. Tires screeched as a black Escalade barreled from a side road, ramming our rear. Metal screamed, whirled, tilting in a spin. We fishtailed to a stop on gravel shoulder, hearts exploding. Stay down, Jordan yelled, drawing his Glock, shoving me behind the seat. Footsteps crunched, two goons, burly and black, pistols glinting. Shots rang, shattering the rear window, glass raining like shrapnel. Jordan fired back, precise. One thug dropped, clutching his leg, but the second lunged, tackling him to the ground. Fists flew, grunts echoing in the pines. Terror propelled me. I grabbed Jordan's spare from the glove box, cold, heavy, and aimed wild, squeezing. The shot cracked, grazing the attacker's arm. He howled, staggering back, giving Jordan the opening to cuff him. Breath ragged, Jordan hauled me up, checking for wounds. You okay? Jesus, Alex. Yeah. Adrenaline sang in my veins, but his arms around me, fierce and trembling, undid me. We zip-tied the survivor, calling it in. Backup arrived, sirens wailing, hauling the mess away. But the close call lingered, a bruise on our budding trust. Back in the city that night, holed up in a fortified brownstone safe house in Harlem, Bulletproof glass, panic buttons everywhere. We collapsed onto a too-firm couch. Jordan pulled me close, lips brushing my temple. You saved me back there. My hero. I kissed him hard, pouring gratitude into it. Partners, right? The word tasted like forever, even as danger loomed. But in his hold, fear felt conquerable. Love, a weapon sharper than any blade. Yet as sleep claimed us, a shadow slipped unnoticed into the alley below. Eyes watching, phone dialing. The noose tightened. The safe house became our fortress and prison, days bleeding into nights under the relentless pulse of Harlem streets. Saxophone wails from jazz clubs drifting up like smoke signals. Jordan worked angles from a secure line, feeding the USB's poison to IA without tipping our hand, while I drafted the story on my laptop. Shadows in the spotlight. How the mob strangles queer New York. Every keystroke felt like rebellion, words weaving Marco's ghost into a call for justice. But isolation gnawed. No windows to the world, just each other and the weight of what we'd become. One evening, as rain pattered the roof like impatient fingers, Jordan set aside his tablet, eyes weary. Got a nibble. DA's interested, but needs corroboration. Tomorrow, we meet a Fed in Battery Park, neutral ground. His voice held that cop steel, but underneath, worry flickered. For me. I set my draft aside, pulling him onto the couch. Sounds risky. You sure? Nothing's sure, Alex. But staying put? That's surrender. He cupped my face, thumb stroking my jaw, gaze softening to liquid gold. I'd walk through fire for this, for us. The kiss ignited slow, building to a blaze that consumed doubts. We made love there, deliberate and deep, his body arching under mine, gasps mingling with the storm's roar. In the afterglow, sweat cooling on skin, he traced patterns on my chest. Remember that first cafe? Thought you were just another scared kid. Now, you're my anchor. Heart swelling, I whispered, and you're my light in this mess. Vulnerability hung between us, raw and real, forging bonds stronger than fear. Dawn broke crisp, the city awakening in golden hues as we slipped out, disguised in hoodies and caps, Jordan's Glock a cold comfort at his waist. Battery Park buzzed with tourists snapping statue shots, the harbor wind carrying salt and freedom. Our Fed, Agent Reyes, a sharp-eyed Latina in her 40s with a no-nonsense bun, waited on a bench, newspaper shielding her face. Hail, she greeted coolly, eyes flicking to me. This the witness? Yeah, Alex Rivera. He's solid. Jordan's hand brushed my back, subtle claim. Reyes nodded, passing a slim folder. Prelimon Ruiz, confirmed hit. Your drive matches our intercepts. Valentino's laundering through drag dens on the Bowery. But the mole? High up. Watch your six. We talked logistics, protected testimony, sealed indictments, but unease prickled. As Reyes rose to leave, a jogger veered too close, hoodie low. Jordan tensed, hand inching to his hip. Down. He barked, shoving me aside as shots popped, silenced, precise, from the jogger's direction. Chaos erupted, screams, pigeons scattering, Reyes crumpling with a red bloom on her blouse. I hit the grass hard, scrambling for cover behind a statue pedestal, ears ringing. Jordan returned fire, two cracks that dropped the shooter mid-stride. Sirens wailed distant, but close enough, backup converging. He dragged me up, face smeared with dirt, eyes wild. You hit. No. God. Reyes. She lay still, blood pooling, her folder sodden. Jordan radioed it in, voice breaking protocol with urgency. Officer down, Battery Park East Pier. Suspect neutralized. Need medevac now. Paramedics swarmed, but Reyes was gone. Throat slashed post-shot. Mob's calling card. The weight crushed me. Our push for justice had claimed her. Jordan pulled me away as feds cordoned the scene, his arm iron around my shoulders. This is on them, Alex. Not us. We retreated to the safe house, shell-shocked. That night, over takeout lo mein that tasted like cardboard, guilt festered. She died because of me. I muttered, chopsticks idle. Jordan knelt before me, hands on my knees. No, she died fighting the same fight. And we'll honor that, finish what she started. His eyes burned with resolve, pulling me down to him. We clung desperate, bodies seeking solace in rhythm, slow thrusts, shared breaths, tears salting skin. Love amid grief felt sacred, a vow against the void. Next day brought heat. Headlines screamed, Fed assassinated in broad daylight, fingers pointing vague at organized elements. Jordan's precinct buzzed, IA sniffing close. We holed deeper, but cracks showed. A tale on our supply runs. Whispers of the mole's identity. Captain Ellis, Jordan's old mentor, rotten to the core. Confrontation brewed. Jordan planned a sting. Leak false cords, draw Ellis out. You stay put, he ordered, but I refused. Partners, remember? I write the truth, you shield it. Together. Reluctant agreement sealed with a kiss. Fierce, fearing finality. The trap set in an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn's industrial ghosts looming. Dusk fell as we positioned. Jordan in shadows with backup snipers, me wired in a van, feeding audio to feds. Ellis arrived solo, paunch straining his suit, face slick with sweat. Hail, you little shit. Thought you were family. Jordan stepped into the cone of light, voice steady. Family doesn't sell out witnesses. Or feds. Ellis sneered, drawing. Shots exchanged in echoey thunder. I watched monitors, heart seizing as Jordan took a graze to the arm, blood blooming dark. He tackled Ellis, cuffing him amid curses. Victory tasted bitter. Ellis spilled, naming the dawn in a plea deal, but cost lingered. Back at the safe house, I bandaged Jordan's wound, fingers trembling. Close one. Too close. He pulled me atop him, lips claiming mine with hunger born of survival. We moved urgent, reclaiming life in gasps and grips, his scar-rough hands mapping my devotion. As we crested together, whispered, I love you, as hung like stars. But dawn revealed the backlash. Valentino's raging, hits greenlit on known associates. Our love, forged in fire, now the bullseye's heart. The safe house felt like a tomb after the sting, air thick with the scent of antiseptic and takeout decay, every creak of the floorboards a phantom footstep. Jordan's wound throbbed under fresh gauze, a dull ache mirroring the bruise on my soul from Reyes's loss. News feeds looped her face, stern and unyielding, fueling my draft into a manifesto. Exposés on the mob's queer exploitation, calls for reform in a system that let monsters thrive. Publish it, Jordan urged one night, reading over my shoulder, his good arm around my waist. Let the world see. It's armor. But armor cracked under pressure. Whispers reached us. Valentino's circling. Don Victor Salerno himself vowing, no loose lips breathe. Jordan's precinct suspended him pending review. Isolation deepening. We clung to routines. Morning runs in the gated yard, his hand in mine sinking steps. Evenings cooking one-pot wonders, laughing over burned garlic. Love wove through it, tender threads. Him humming show tunes while I typed, me massaging knots from his shoulders. Yet fear shadowed every touch, a specter reminding us borrowed time. A breakthrough came midweek, anonymous drop at the precinct, flash drive with video, grainy but damning. Salerno ordering Ruiz's hit, Ellis nodding like a puppet. Jackpot, Jordan breathed, eyes alight as we viewed it in the dim kitchen. This nails them. DA's moving for warrants tomorrow. Elation surged, but so did peril. That night, as thunder rolled in from the Atlantic, the power flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed us, pulse of emergency lights casting eerie reds. Generator, Jordan muttered, grabbing his flashlight, Glock in hand. I followed, spine crawling, to the basement access. Footsteps echoed above, deliberate, muffled. Intruders, he whispered, shoving me behind crates. Two shadows descended, ski masked, silenced pistols sweeping. Rivera's here. Boss wants him breathing, for now. Their voices grated, New York thick with menace. Jordan fired first, cracks splitting the gloom, one thug crumpling. The second whirled, bullets pinging crates, splintering wood. I dove, heart hammering, grabbing a loose pipe, swinging wild, connecting with a crack to the knee. The man howled, dropping, Jordan cuffing him swift. NYPD. Freeze. Sirens wailed soon after, backup flooding. But the cost. Jordan's graze reopened, blood seeping. Me, a shallow slice on my forearm from flying debris. Medics patched us in the van ride back, but the violation lingered. They're desperate, Jordan said later, stitching my cut with steady hands. Means we're close. Close enough to touch the flame. Adrenaline crashed into intimacy that night. Bodies slamming urgent against the wall, clothes shed in frenzy. His mouth on my neck, marking claim. My nails raking his back, drawing gasps. We collapsed to the floor, entangled and spent, his forehead to mine. Can't lose you, Alex. Not now. You won't. I vowed, voice fierce. We're rewriting this ending. Warrants dropped at dawn, raids across the city, Salerno's empire crumbling in handcuffs and headlines. My story broke online, viral firestorm, shares from activists, outrage from allies. Protests swelled in Times Square, rainbow banners waving against the night. But victory's edge cut deep, retaliation swift. A pipe bomb at Jordan's precinct. No deaths, but shrapnel-etched scars on the building's face. We relocated to a high-rise bolt hole in Midtown, sleek anonymity amid skyscrapers. There, in a bed with skyline views, love deepened. Lazy mornings tracing constellations on skin, evenings debating futures over wine. After this, Jordan murmured one night, fingers laced with mine, road trip, Route 66, no badges, just us. I smiled, heart full. Deal. And I'll write the soundtrack. Dreams wove real, fragile as hope. But the dawn's web tangled tighter. Intel pinpointed a final play. Salerno, bailed on technicality, plotting a message hit. Me, public, to silence the roar. Jordan's face hardened over breakfast. We ended. Tonight. Decoy op. Me as bait in the old alley. You safe with feds. No. I gripped his wrist. Together. I saw the murder. I testify the close. Argument flared. Voices rising. Fear masked as anger. Ending in slammed doors. Hours later, reconciliation came raw. Apologies and tears. Bodies reconciling in slow, healing rhythm. I need you safe, he whispered, buried deep. Because loving you? It's the only win that matters. Our mist is sealed. We prepped. Vests under jackets. Wires humming. The alley waited. Rain slick again. Ghosts of that night rising. Jordan kissed me fierce before stepping into shadows. Come back to me. Always. I watched from a van, monitors flickering, breath held. Shots echoed, Salerno's crew swarming, pistols blazing. Jordan dodged, returning fire, but numbers overwhelmed. Alex, go, his voice crackled. But I couldn't. Bursting from the van, tackling a gunman, pipe from the van cracking bone. Chaos reigned. Sirens, shouts, bodies falling. Salerno loomed, blade drawn, eyes mad. You ruined everything, boy. Jordan lunged, shot grazing the Don's shoulder. They grappled, knife flashing, sinking shallow into Jordan's side. Rage propelled me. I charged, wrenching the blade free, plunging it into the Don's thigh. He crumpled, roaring, as feds swarmed. Medics airlifted Jordan, knife dodged vitals, but blood loss critical. I rode with him, hand in his, whispering love like litany. Stay with me. Our road trip waits. He squeezed weakly. Wouldn't. Miss it. Hospital sterile chilled my bones. Beeps of monitors a mechanical lullaby. Antiseptic sting burning my nostrils as I paced the ICU wait. Hours stretched eternal. Each tick of the clock carving deeper worry. Nurses came and went. Faces masks of professional calm. But their glances said it all. Touch and go. Jordan's wound, though shallow, nicked an artery. Surgeons fought floods in or light. I slumped in a vinyl chair, bloodied shirt stiff on my skin, replaying the alley. My swing, his fall, the Dawn snarl. Heroes and headlines. But here, just a man praying for his love's breath. Dawn crept through blinds when they wheeled him out. Pale, tubed, but alive. Stable, the doc said, clapping my shoulder. Lost blood, but he's tough. Family. I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, me. Visitation brief. His hand limp in mine, eyelids fluttering. Love you. I whispered, kissing knuckles scarred from fights fair and foul. Fight like hell. Recovery blurred days. Me crashing in his room on a cot, smuggling contraband coffee, reading aloud from my published piece. Now a Pulitzer whisper. Jordan woke in fits, groggy grins cracking through pain. My night with a pipe, he rasped day 3, fingers twining mine. Save my ass. Partners, I echoed, tears pricking. We talked futures between vitals checks, cabin weekends, adoptions maybe, a life beyond badges. Love, tempered in trial, shone purer, every glance a vow. Discharge came week 2, Jordan hobbling on crutches to our midtown bolt hole. I fussed, soups simmered, pillows fluffed, earning eye rolls and kisses. Bossy, he'd tease, pulling me down despite protests. Intimacy shifted gentle, hands exploring slow, lips mapping healing scars, reaffirming wholeness. One night, city lights twinkling witness, he proposed. Not ring, but words. Marry me, Alex? When the dust settles. Make this official. Heart soaring, I breathed, yes. God, yes. Laughter bubbled, dissolving into lovemaking soft as snowfall, his body yielding, mine protective, union a sacrament. But dust never fully settled. Trials loomed, Salerno's empire indicted, Ellis flipping for leniency, my testimony key. Prep sessions in sterile conference rooms drained. Reliving the alley, Marco's gasp under lawyers' probes. Jordan attended when able, hand under the table a lifeline. Protests raged outside courthouses, queer voices amplified by my words, turning tragedy to torch. Opening day arrived crisp November, Federal Building in Foley Square, a fortress of marble and metal. I took the stand, voice steady despite the gallery's stares, Salerno's kin glaring daggers, activists nodding fierce. I saw the blade enter Marco Ruiz, I said, eyes locking on the Don's cuffed form. Heard the betrayal in his last breath. This isn't just murder, it's erasure of lives, loves, communities. Words flowed, cathartic flood, honoring ghosts. Cross-exam brutal, defense twisting my bias as a radical journalist, slinging homophobic barbs veiled as questions. I held, Jordan's gaze from the bench anchoring me. Verdict swift, guilty on all, life without parole. Court erupted. Cheers, sobs, me collapsing into Jordan's arms amid flashbulbs. We did it, he murmured, lips to my hair. Aftermath whirlwind. Book deals, TED Talks, but we carved quiet. Holiday lights twinkled early as we drove upstate, cabin waiting snow-dusted. There, by fire roar, rings exchanged, simple bands engraved, partners forever. Vows whispered, to fight fair, love fierce, build legacies of light. Yet scars lingered. Nights Jordan woke sweating from dreams of blades, me from empty alleys. Therapy bridged gaps, love the mortar. One spring dawn, as cherry blossoms dusted Central Park, we walked hand in hand, wedding bands catching sun. From witness to warrior, Jordan said, squeezing. And fear to family, I replied, kissing him slow. Salvation wasn't absence of storm, but love's unyielding sail through it. In the city that birthed our chaos, we planted roots, advocacy nonprofit, stories amplifying silenced voices. Marco's husband visited once, eyes grateful. He'd be proud. We were proud of survival, of love that turned targets to triumphs. And in quiet moments, watching Jordan laugh over breakfast or type reports with that focused furrow, I knew we'd witnessed death, but birthed life anew. Love, the ultimate redemption. Years folded like well-worn pages, time softening edges without dulling the shine. Our nonprofit, Echoes United, bloomed from that bloodied start. A beacon in Chelsea, walls alive with murals of Stonewall fists and rainbow veins, hosting workshops for queer youth dodging shadows we once fled. Jordan traded badge for director's desk, his southern drawl charming donors over coffee. I wrote full-time, columns in The Atlantic blending thriller grit with human hymns. Mornings began tangled in our brownstone bed, his stubble tickling my neck, coffee brewing to the rhythm of lazy kisses. But echoes persisted. Anniversaries stirred ghosts. October rains triggering alley flashbacks. Jordan's scar aching phantom twinges. We'd counter with rituals. Walks in Battery Park, flowers at Reyes's memorial plaque, toast to Marco over homemade pasta. Love evolved, deepening roots. Adopting Theo, a wiry 12-year-old from the foster system, with Jordan's hazel mischief and my stubborn spark. Fatherhood hit like revelation. Bedtime stories laced with truths of identity. Park soccer games ending in pylons and laughter. One crisp fall, 5 years post-verdict, a call shattered routine. Anonymous tip on a new syndicate. Whispers of old Valentino remnants targeting activists. Jordan's eyes hardened over dinner, fork pausing. Feels familiar. I reached for his hand, steady. We've danced this before. Smarter now. We dove in cautious, me interviewing survivors, him liaising with feds, exposing a ring preying on immigrant queer bars. Risks mounted, slashed tires, veiled threats scrawled on our door. Theo stayed with sitters, oblivious, his world forts and cartoons. Climax brewed in a dimly lit community center raid. Jordan coordinating, me embedded with a camera crew for the doc we were producing. Shouts echoed halls as SWAT breached, but a stray shot winged Jordan's vest, knocking wind from him. I rushed, heart seizing, helping him up amid chaos. I'm good, he gasped, grinning through grimace. Just a love tap. Arrest rolled, story broke. Our story again. Back home, Theo hugging us fierce, oblivious to heroes. That night, as rain pattered once more, Jordan pulled me to the roof deck, city sprawl glittering below. Remember the cabin? Our first yes. I nodded, arms around his waist. Every scar's a yes since. We made slow love under stars, bodies knowing every curve, breaths sinking like old habit. Afterward, wrapped in blankets, he murmured, Theo asked about our wedding pics today. Wants a brother someday. Laughter bubbled. Planting seeds, hail? With you? Always. His kiss sealed it. Gentle, profound, love's quiet thunder. Decade mark brought reflection. A gala for echoes, ballroom aglow with donors and drag queens belting anthems. Jordan in tux, devastating. Me in velvet, his hand possessive at my back. Speeches flowed, mine on redemption's arc, from witness terror to communal salvation. Applause thundered, but his eyes, across the mic, said it all. You. Later, dancing cheek to Ella, he whispered, fear tried to break us. Love? It built empires. And families, I added, glancing to Theo twirling with aunties. Pride swelled, human and vast. Challenges lingered. Theo's coming out at 15, navigating schoolyard storms with our guidance. Policy fights in D.C., Jordan testifying with that unyielding drawl. But we faced them woven tight, love the loom. Now, gray threading our temples, we sit porch swings in a Hudson Valley home. Cabin upgraded, views eternal. Theo off to college, majoring journalism, his send-off teary pride. Evenings find us with books or wine, hands linked, stories swapping like treasures. That first hook, blood and rain, faded to prologue. We'd witnessed murder's maw, stared down its jaws, emerged not unscathed but unbreakable. Love didn't erase fear, it transmuted it into courage, community, the radical act of choosing joy amid ruins. In every glance, every touch, salvation whispers, we survived, we thrived, and in that thriving, we saved each other, a testament, etched in hearts, that light claims even the darkest alleys.